Welcome to Power in Politics. You are where you need to be. Today on Power in Politics, Prime Minister Stephen Harper will set the record straight on the F-35 controversy. Joining us now from the House of Commons foyer, Prime Minister Stephen Harper. Welcome to Power in Politics, Prime Minister.
Thank you, Kevin.
It's Evan.
Whatever.
Mr. Harper, the opposition is claiming you deliberately misled Canadians concerning the F-35 purchase. How do you respond to those charges?
Kevin, let's be clear.
It's Evan.
Yeah, okay. Evan, let's be clear. Obviously, the opposition parties are enemies of freedom and enemies of Canada.
Enemies of freedom? Why do you say that, Prime Minister?
Clearly, the opposition is trying to limit my freedom of speech. As you know, I'm sure, our strong, stable, conservative majority government believes in liberty and personal freedom. Obviously, when they take issue with what I say about the F-35, they are, in effect, taking issue with my personal right to freedom of speech, one of the most basic rights in a democracy.
So let me make sure I understand what you're saying. You're saying that when the opposition accuses you of lying to Canadians, they are threatening your right to free speech.
Exactly. This is a democracy, Kevin. Freedom of speech is one of our most basic Canadian freedoms, along with gun ownership and unregulated development of our natural resources.
Mr. Harper, it's been pointed out that during the 2011 election campaign, you knew that the real cost estimate of the F-35s was about $25 billion. Yet you told Canadians that it was only $15 billion, a difference of $10 billion.
Can I ask you a question, Kevin?
You're the Prime Minister. I think you can do whatever you want. And it's Evan.
Yeah, right. Tell me, Kevin, are you an economist?
No.
No, I didn't think so. Well, Kevin, I am an economist. And if you were an economist, you'd know that $15 billion in 2011 and $25 billion in 2012 are pretty much the same thing. This is the sort of thing that economists deal with every day. We can't really expect the average Canadian or the average Canadian journalist to understand the complex algorithms that affect these vast sums.
So let me get this straight. You're saying that $15 billion and $25 billion are equal to one another, and only economists can understand the math.
Well, duh. Are you asking questions, or are you just repeating everything I say?
Okay, you've cleared that up. There's no difference between $25 billion and $15 billion.
Correctamundo, Einstein. And even if there were some small difference between $25 billion and $15 billion, I'm entitled to freedom of speech. And I can say they're equal if I want to. In fact, freedom of speech gives me the right to say whatever I want, whenever I want.
Yes, but isn't the opposition exercising freedom of speech when they accuse you of misleading Canadians?
Let's be clear, Kevin. We have to have limits. Obviously, what the so-called liberals and the so-called New Democrats are doing is a lot like yelling fire in a crowded theater. It's very simple. Liar even rhymes with fire. I don't need to spell out the implications, do I, Kevin?
Implications?
Liar, fire. Try to keep up, will you, Kevin? Anyone who is so irresponsible that they would yell fire in a crowded theater has no business trying to stick their socialist noses into government contracts.
Mr. Harper, you just brought up contracts. Is there a contract to buy 65 F-35 fighter jets for $9 billion, like you said during the election campaign?
Let's be clear, Kevin. Our strong, stable majority conservative government hasn't signed any contracts, and we haven't spent a single penny on any so-called F-35 stealth fighter jets.
But when you were campaigning last year, you said there was a contract. Isn't that right, Prime Minister?
And your point is? Weren't you listening earlier when I mentioned that freedom of speech is a pillar of Canada's democracy? Are you trying to say I don't have the right to say the words $9 billion or $15 billion? Are there any other words you'd like to outlaw, Herr Commandant?
No, of course not. You're the Prime Minister. Of course, you can use whatever words you want to. There's no censorship here on Power in Politics. Herr Commandant? Yikes!
Yes, Kevin, I am the Prime Minister. I make the rules, not you. And not that bearded communist, Fidel Molker. And not that albino, Bob Ray.
Albino?
Yeah, albino. Have you seen that white-haired freak lately? What, you don't like the word albino? Is that another outlawed word, Comrade Stalin?
No, of course not.
Are we through here? I've got work to do. I'm writing a book on hockey, you know. Hockey, Kevin. As Canadian as free speech, maple syrup, and bitumen.
Yes, thank you, Prime Minister. Can we expect you to appear on Power and Politics again if we have more questions in the future?
Fat chance. Any more questions on the F-35 and you can talk to Peter McKay. Yeah, McKay. Put him on the hot seat, why don't you? If you can track him down, that is. He might be out on a search and rescue helicopter training exercise. If you can't find McKay, try Rona Ambrose. She's the one with the big hair. You can't miss her, Kevin.
It's Evan.
Yeah, whatever. Evan Schmevin. Goodbye, Kevin. Call me when the pandas get here.
Well, viewers, you heard it first right here on Power and Politics. The Prime Minister confirmed his support for freedom and denied any wrongdoing. I don't think you can get any more Canadian than that. Like the Prime Minister said, free speech is a cornerstone of democracy. We'll try to get some opposition spokespeople to respond to Mr. Harper's assertions, but I have a feeling they're going to be hiding out. After all, the Prime Minister just called them enemies of freedom and enemies of Canada. He makes the rules. He builds the prison. He's writing a book about hockey. Until next time, this is Evan Solomon for Power and Politics. You were where you needed to be.